to start off with a little bit of a talk. I'm part of a Toastmasters group in Southern Calgary, and I prepared a speech for them, and you're my test audience. Isn't that great? All right. Well, how many of you made New Year's resolutions for 2016? Anyone? Oh, nobody's making resolutions. I think you heard the same thing that I heard, that 50% of resolution makers fail by the end of January, and 9 out of 10 people quit by the end of March. Instead of resolutions, though, I'm going to encourage you to get one word for the year, and it might just change you. If you have a check-the-box, task-oriented nature similar to mine, you've probably had your share of goal setting for the new year. However, as time goes by, we can feel frustration seeping in as we fall short of our very ambitious plans. We try to do too much, and as a result, we feel less than successful. A few years ago, I heard a podcast about a book and a concept called One Word. It's a simple discipline of developing a word theme for the coming year. That's it. One word. Not a phrase or a statement, just a single word. When you discover your one word for the year, it gives you much more clarity, passion, and purpose for life. The one-word exercise brings simplicity and focus. It cuts through the distractions and keeps us focused on what really matters. It has the ability to stretch us in all areas, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, and financially. God can transform us through this exercise, for God delights in changed lives. Having your one word will initiate a process of teaching, developing, refining, and molding. God will use your word as a light and as a mirror, illuminating your path and revealing things that need to change. It facilitates a great journey of highs and lows, designed to make you into the person that you were created to be. When the authors, Dan Britton, Jimmy Page, and John Gordon, first started this process, half the fun was choosing the word for the year, but they learned that it's not necessarily us who chooses the word, but rather God who reveals it. God can indeed drop an appointed, specific word into your soul. In their first few years, they admitted that it was mostly them picking a word with very little revealing of the word from God. But still, God used it. As they became more experienced in the process, they learned to really listen and watch for God's leading in selecting the word. By listening for God's voice, you will discover a God word and not just a good word. Let's get to the practical side of the one-word theme concept. Keep in mind that the process takes some time, but it's worth it. Whether you're single, married, a parent, a business leader, this process can facilitate breakthrough for you in every area of your life. When your one word comes to you, it may come in the form of a character trait, a discipline, a spiritual focus, an attribute, or a value. Here's some examples that others have used. Love, joy, patience, kindness, rest, prayer, health, flexible, devotion, intimacy, discipline, commitment, bold, positive, finish, purity, inspire, integrity, strong. Here are the steps to help you discover your one-word theme. The one-word process really has 3 simple steps. Look in, look up, and look out. So step 1, prepare your heart, look in. This is where you take action to unplug from the hectic pace, the noise, and the clutter. Finding solitude and silence can be a difficult task, but to hear from God is essential. And as we let God examine our heart, He will give us clarity. Step 2, discover your word, look up. This step helps us plug in and listen to God. taking time for prayer, that simple conversation with God, is the place to start. Ask him this question: what do you want to do in me and through me this year? This question will help you discover the word meant for you. Don't just pick a good word, receive a God word. And step 3, live your word. And that's the look out. Once you discover the word that is meant for you, it's time to live it out. Your word will have an impact in so many areas of your life. Tell your family, an accountability partner, your word for the year. Write it in your journal, post it on the fridge, talk about it with your family over dinner. Do whatever it takes to keep it in focus and keep it fresh. This was my experience in choosing one word with my family. I sat my kids down and explained the concept, ready to walk through the one-word action plan that I downloaded from the website. I prayed a quick prayer for God's guidance, and before I even turned the cover of that front page, 2 of my children put up their hand and said, "I have my word." I said, "What? I haven't even read through the plan yet." But determined not to be ruled by the rules, I decided to listen to my children and see what they had to say. My daughter, who's 11, went first. She said, "My word is persistence." I thought, wow, that's a really fitting word for you, especially considering the day before we had brought out a new game and she had given up trying because it was difficult for her to learn. So I thought persistence was very good for her and very insightful. Then my son, who's 9 years old, he said, "My word is peacekeeper." Wow, I thought, because conflict certainly reigns in my home and we could use a peacekeeper who is on duty at all times. My little Emily, who's 6, she did need a little help. Her first try at it was coloring for others. And while I thought that was a good intention, I said maybe we could refine that. And so her second try was kindness. And again, I thought that was really good because I said, you know what, when you're kind to others, you can color for them. So it'll work out really well. All the kids were thrilled. And then, of course, they turned to me and said, "Well, Mom, what's your word?" And I said, "I can't just pick a word that quickly." I said, "I need some peace and quiet." So I shooed them outside and had a little bit of quiet time. And as I was praying to God, I really reflected on all the things that had happened in 2015. I started thanking him for all the benefits and the good things, but also for the challenges and the difficulties, because God really doesn't leave any scrap unused. He can redeem it all. And while I was going through the gratitude that I felt, suddenly a word jumped out, and it was the word grace. And I sobbed, because I knew what that meant for me. I've received so much grace, but yet I am stingy in giving it out. I admit that I have a bit too much Pharisee in me. Pride, self-righteousness, you name it. I want to be in control. I like a routine and schedule. I like things done my way. But when you're married and have kids, this doesn't work out too well. And so I know that my focus this year will indeed be full of grace, of giving out that which I have received, to love people where they're at, not to judge or criticize, to parent in grace and relationship, and not by rules and dictatorship. It's going to be a beautifully messy year. As you live out your word, let God use the simplicity of the one-word theme to revolutionize your everyday life. I pray that this year is a breakthrough year for you as the Lord takes you to the next level and uses your one word to bring Him glory.